All right, so today we are doing section 3.2, solving systems of equations by substitution. So yesterday we did solving systems by graphing. And as you guys saw in your homework, if you used a nice straight edge, then your pictures probably came out real nice and clean, and you probably got really nice answers. But if you use just freehand and your lines were a little crooked, maybe you were a little off, and that's okay. But you know, it always looks nicer when you have nice straight lines. But the problem with that, like I said, is when you graph, your graphs can be off by a little bit, and when they're off by a little bit, that means your answers are literally wrong. But we're going to be okay with that on a quiz. As long as you're within the main vicinity of the answer, I'm fine with it. But yeah, graphing is not the best way to solve. So substitution, for me personally, is the best way. Actually, Kramer's rule is the best way, but we're not going to learn that. That's a algebra. That's more of a trig thing, matrices and stuff. But substitution is my favorite of the ones that I teach you guys here. Okay. But there are some steps, okay? Some of them are not required. You can see step 2, I put if needed, right? But step number 1, you're going to write the equation side by side. Not really a math step. It's just more of a step that's going to help you keep your work in order, because we are going to kind of swing information back and forth. So write them side by side. 2, solve one equation for x or y. So you have 2 equations. You're going to look at the equations. You're going to say which one is easiest to solve and which letter am I going to solve for? Am I going to solve for y or x? It doesn't matter. Just solve for one of them. Okay, and I said if needed because sometimes they already give you the equation set up. So you may not need to do that. Part 3, substitute your solve value into the other equation and solve. Okay, so if you solve for y on one equation, you're going to get all that information. You're going to plug it into the other equation, and you're going to solve for the remaining variable. Okay, I know this doesn't make a lot of sense if you don't see it, but it'll make sense once we do it. Step 4 says substitute the answer you got in step 3 back into the original equation, and then solve again. Now you're going to solve for the second variable. And then they say, now write your answer as a point. So there are 5 steps you're supposed to do. Okay, I'll kind of mark them as we go through, just so you can see. But 5 different steps. So here we go. So I think we have 4 examples, just so you know. Okay, I'm doing 4 on purpose because of the fact that some of them are going to be no solution, some will be infinitely many. I want you guys to see what it looks like when that happens. And some of them will be actual points. Okay, so we're going to solve each system of equations. And I'm giving you 2 different equations, right? For example, one, y is equal to negative 3x minus 12. And the other one, 2x minus y is equal to negative 13. So notice, step number 1, I've already taken care of it for you, okay? Mine will always have step 1 taken care of. But on your homework, unfortunately, they like to write them on top of each other, okay? So you're going to have to split it, all right? Well, you don't have to, but I really recommend you split them up, okay? I don't know why all the assignments and all the books always put them on top of each other. They should keep them side by side. But anyway, so step 1 is done. Okay, so if anything, I'll put I'll put 1 right here in a little circle. It's done. Okay. Step 2, you're gonna choose an equation to solve for. Okay, x or y. You get to choose which one you want. Now, to me, the left side equation is already solved. So I'm not going to do anything special. I am going to say, okay, notice this one says y is equal to negative 3x minus 12. Okay, this is what y is equal to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that and plug it in there. This is my step 2 right there. Okay, solving and plugging it in. Okay. So now I'm going to go to the right side. Let me just make sure that is the way I wrote it, right? Let me see. Solve one equation for x and y. That's step 2. Step 3, actually, hold on. I mislabeled. Oh, no, I'll leave it like that. Solving and setting it over. Okay. Step 3 is me plugging it in and solving. So here we go. I got 2x minus. I'm going to change the color just so you guys can see the plugging in portion of it. Okay, that way you're like, okay, that's what he did. Okay, so here's my work. 2x minus a parenthesis, negative 3x minus 12, equals to negative 13. So the thing in green is me plugging that in. Okay? So the thing in green was me plugging in the y value. So that's my step 3. Okay? And now I got to solve it. So I'm just going to put like a little 3 over here so you can see that that's happening at that point. Okay? Now let's go ahead and solve. So I get 2x plus 3x plus 12 is equal to negative 13. Okay? This gives me 5x plus 12 is equal to negative 13. I'm going to move the 12 over. So that's 5x is equal to negative 25. And then if I divide both sides by 5, I get that x is equal to what? Negative 5. So now I'm going to get that answer and plug it in to the other equation. That's step 4. Okay, this is step 4. So you can see why I do this vertically. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of do the work to the side of that. But here we go. Y equals negative 3 times negative 5 minus 12. Okay, so y is equal to 15 minus 12. So y is 3. Step 5 says write it as a point. So my answer is negative 5, 3. This is step 5. So here we have all 5 steps that we kind of have to go through them, but sometimes we don't have to do anything. Like I said, step 1 you'll never have to do because I'm going to set them up for you like that all the time. But we may have to do the solving part for one of the variables, okay? And we get to choose. There is no wrong answer. You can solve any equation that you want, left or right side, okay? Just do it right. When you substitute stuff in, you'll get the same answers I will if I do something different. So just make sure your math is good, okay? Make sure it's sound. So let's try another one. And then if you have questions, we'll kind of revisit. So for number 2, we have y equals half x plus 1 and y equals 3x minus 4. All right. So step 1 is supposed to be separate the equations. Well, I already did that for you guys. So there they are. They're separated, right? Step 1. Step 2 is pick an equation and solve for a variable. Now you notice how both of these equations are already solved for y, right? So you really can't do anything wrong here. Just pick one. Do you want to use the left one or the right one? It doesn't matter. Which one do you want to use? Just pick blindly. I don't care. Should we do eeny, meeny, miny, mo? We can do that, right? Do you guys even know what eeny, meeny, miny, mo is? Yeah. Or is that okay? So I'm not that old. So you said right equation? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go the right equation. So we're gonna pick the right one. So here's step 2. We pick the equation to solve for, right? Now, I know that y is 3x minus 4. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this value and I'm going to plug it in where y is. Okay? Notice if I would have picked the one on the left, I just would have drawn the arrow to the right. It doesn't matter. Just pick one. So, all right, changing colors just so that you guys are aware of what's new. That's equal to 1/2 x plus 1. This is step 3, the substitution step. Okay, so remember, step 1 is separate them. Already done. Step 2, pick an equation, right? And you're going to plug that in to your y value. So I just did that. Step 3, once you plug it in, start solving, right? So here we go. Let me move the 4 this way really quick, and then I'll do the variables after. So 3x is equal to 1/2 x. That's plus 5. Now let me subtract 3 minus 1/2. Well, 3 minus 1/2, that's 2 1/2. Okay, 2.5 if you want to write that. Or we could also write it as, what is that, 5 over 2x. So I'm just going to leave it as 5 over 2x is equal to 5. Okay? Now, to get rid of the 5 over 2, since it's a full fraction, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So let me multiply by 2 over 5 on both sides. So left side's going to cancel. Okay? So the left side's going to cancel. We get x equal to, right side, the 5's will cancel. So I get a 2. Okay, so step 3 is done. Now we're going to go into step 4. Get this answer and plug it into the other equation, the original one. That's my step 4. So here we go. Y equals to 3 times 2 minus 4. Well, 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 minus 4 is 2. So I'm done. Step 4 is done. Step 5, write your answer as a point. X is 2, Y is 2. So 2, 2. This is step 5. Let me pause it real quick. All right, so we've done 2 problems where we had actual solutions, okay? We had this problem up here where we got a negative 5, 3. We did this problem here, we got a 2, 2, right? If you go to Desmos and like draw them, have the graph utility draw them for you, and you can touch where they intersect, you'll see this one comes out at 2, 2. This one will come out at negative 5, 3, okay? You can double check me if you want. But these next 2 are going to be different, okay? They're different for a couple of reasons. Number 1, none of them are solved. Okay? And then number 2, they may or may not have answers, or they might have an infinite number of answers. So we're going to find out right now how to tell. Okay. So we have the left equation, we have the right equation. In my opinion, so in your head, think to yourself, don't say it out loud. Either pick left or right side as the easier equation. Okay? Think about it. Pick either left or right in your head. And I'll tell you, the easiest equation to work with is going to be the left one. Okay? Why? Well, because of y. See how y doesn't have a number in front of it? You see how 3x, right? The x has a 3 on it. Y is all by itself. And the other equation, we have a 6x and a 2y. I see y is all by itself. That means I can easily solve for it. I don't have to divide or anything. I'm just going to move the 3x over to the other side. So, step 1, like I said, is already done. Okay? Step 2 is picking an equation and solving. I'm picking the left side. And I'm going to move the 3x over. So that gives me y equal to negative 3x minus 5. This is step 2. Right there. I picked an equation and I solved. Step 3, I'm going to plug into the other equation, the thing I just solved, right? So I'm going to get this negative 3x minus 5 and plug it into y, okay? This is going to be my step 3 coming up. Oh, wait, let me not change yet. So 6x plus 2 times y is negative 3x minus 5, so negative 3x minus 5 equals to negative 10. This is step 3 right there. Plugging it in. Now I got to work everything out so that I can do step 4, which is plugging it back. Okay, so let's work everything out. We got 6x minus 6x minus 10 equals to negative 10. You notice anything interesting that's going to happen on the left side? It's going to cancel. Yeah, it's going to go to 0. So I basically get negative 10 equals to negative 10. There's no variable for me to solve. Okay, well, when the variable disappears, then I have to rely on, is this a true statement or a false statement? That's true. Negative 10 is equal to negative 10. This is true. So whenever the variables disappear, then you got to say, is this true or false? If it's true, we're going to write I am S, infinitely many solutions. What we're basically saying is these two equations are the same equations. They may not look like it, but they are. Okay? So infinitely many solutions. Right now I'll prove it to you. So, how can I prove it to you? Look at the left side equation. If I double every number there, so 3x becomes 6x, y becomes 2y, negative 5 becomes negative 10. Isn't it the same equation as the right side if I double it? Right? So they're called equivalent equations. If they're equivalent equations, they're the same equations there. That means when you graph them, they're right on top of each other. Okay, which means you have infinitely many solutions. Okay? So I did step 3, but notice I didn't do step 4 or step 5 because of the fact that the problem like broke down. Like all the variables disappeared, so now I got to make a call, true or false. If it's true, infinitely many solutions. What do you think happens if it's false? No solution, right? There'll be no solution. That means they're parallel lines. So let's check out question number 4. And that's going to happen with this one right here. As you're writing them out, look at the two equations. They're already side by side, right? So step 1 is already taken care of. Step 1's taken care of. But step 2, you're supposed to pick an equation that you're going to solve for either x or y. Which one do you want to do, left or right? Right. Yeah. I pick right as well. Number 1, left, it has a negative 21 in there. Looks kind of scary, right? Plus, I noticed the right side also, again, just has a y all by itself. Now, if it would have said like x plus 7y equals to negative 3, then I would have still picked the right side but solved for x instead. Okay? So it just depends. Whichever variable doesn't have a number in front of it, that's usually the easiest one to solve for. Okay? So let's get this 7x. Let's throw it over to this side. So y is equal to negative 7x minus 3. So that's step number 2 right there. Okay? And I'm going to get this negative 7x minus 3. And I'm going to plug it into the other equation, where the y is. By the way, did I highlight that other one? I didn't. Hold on, give me a second. I like to highlight what's being thrown in there. All right, so that's going to go into the other equation, right? This is going to be my step 3 here. So negative 21x minus 3 times negative 7x minus 3 equals to negative 4. Oops, I forgot to put it in green. Let me rewrite that. Negative 7x minus 3. That's step 3 right there, okay? We're plugging it in. All right, let's distribute. So negative 21x plus 21x plus 9 equals to negative 4. So again, what happens on the left side? Yeah, negative 21 plus 21 is 0. So those cancel out. All that's left is 9 equals to negative 4. Is this true? No. Since it's false, no solution. If two lines have no solution, what kind of lines are they? Parallel, because they have no intersection. Okay? So if two lines have no solution, that means that they're parallel. All right? So that's basically what your homework's going to be today.